In tonight's headlines, authorities are looking into claims that private school Han Academy has failed to refund at least $5.8 million worth of debentures to parents who withdrew their children from the school. A gas blast at a high-rise apartment complex in Shenzhen Bay causes a massive fire that prompts the evacuation of nearby buildings. And police in South Korea raised the presidential office over President Yoon Suk-yeol's martial law attempt last week. Police and education authorities are probing into claims that Han Academy, a private school in Wonchuk-han, has failed to refund at least $5.8 million worth of bonds to parents who withdrew their children from the school. This came after 11 angry parents reported to the police that they have been defrauded. The Western District Crime Squad has taken over the case. Meanwhile, the Education Bureau has directed the institution to stop collecting contribution bonds. In response to the issue, Education Secretary Christine Choi acknowledged that the government lacked a vetting mechanism for such bond collections at the time Han Academy was established 7 years ago. However, she pointed out that such a mechanism was introduced in August 2023, and the Bureau has since been reviewing fees charged by private schools. Meanwhile, Choi advised parents to exercise extra caution before engaging with financial schemes offered by private institutions, while reassuring them that current students will not be impacted by these issues. Speaking to iCable News, founding supervisor of the academy, Xu Li, acknowledged that the school is $100 million in debt, as the institution is grappling with significant economic challenges from the 2019 social unrest and subsequently the pandemic. She pleaded for a 5-year grace period before repaying the bonds. According to the academy's website, parents were mandated to contribute a capital levy of at least $600,000 for each student enrolled since the 2020-21 academic year. While refunds can be requested after deducting annual school fees of $45,000, many parents are frustrated by the lengthy delays in receiving their reimbursements. The academy stressed it would not cease operation and expressed optimism in refunding the debentures, but only under the premise of growth in enrollment in the future. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
Subsidizing bus operators for the transformation to electric buses was to ensure the replacement costs would not be passed on to passengers. Secretary for Environment and Ecology Cai Qin-wan said. His comments came after the government announced plans to subsidize bus companies to purchase about 600 e-buses and the taxi trade to purchase 3,000 e-taxis. For buses, each single-decker bus will receive a subsidy of $400,000, while each double-decker bus will get $800,000 or 25% of the price, whichever is lower. Taking to the airwaves, the Environment Minister attributed the subsidies to plunging electric bus prices in recent months, though it is still much more expensive than regular ones by over $1 million a bus. The price difference was to cover the increased costs when switching to new vehicles, not to pass on the cost to passengers, he said. Meantime, the government will install 500 fast charging stations at petrol stations and taxi stands within 3 years. Te added that petrol stations are widespread in urban areas, making it convenient to charge. Those charging stations at taxi stands will be exclusive for taxis, hoping to attract taxi drivers and ensure easy access. When asked about the loan scheme launched in 2023 with a 100% guarantee for the taxi trade to encourage a transition to e-taxis, Che said the scheme was working, and given a larger-scale transition to electric vehicles in the future, that's why the government further introduced the new funding initiative. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
The Department of Justice said it would not seek sentence review over sentences handed out in the city's landmark subversion case. Last month, the High Court handed down jail terms to 45 people for their roles in a scheme aiming to bring down the government by organizing an unsanctioned legislative council primary poll, with sentences ranging from 4 years plus 2 months to 10 years behind bars. In response to media inquiries today, the Department of Justice stated it has no intention to file an application for a sentence review. It also declined to comment on the sentencing, citing inappropriateness, as there were defendants who appealed against their sentences.
A massive fire at a high-rise residential block in Shenzhen this afternoon prompted the evacuation of nearby buildings. An explosion in Phase 2 of the upmarket Shenzhen Bay Yuefu in Nanshan district triggered a blaze, which quickly engulfed several floors of the building. Shenzhen Fire Brigade dispatched 16 fire trucks and 80 rescue personnel to get the blaze under control. At least 5 floors of the building were severely damaged. Located above the high-end mixed-C shopping mall, several roads leading to the complex were closed. Workers in the nearby China Resources Tower said they felt tremors after the blast. Authorities are yet to issue a statement on casualties and injuries. After more than 4.5 years of construction, the Huangmaohai Cross-Sea Passage linking Zhuhai and Jiangmen kicked off for trial this afternoon, further enhancing the 1-hour living circle in the Greater Bay Area. At around 3 p.m., the first bus pulled into the bridge, with a series of private cars queuing up at the toll station to experience this new link. This 31-kilometer passage, also the western extension of the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge, includes 2 major bridges, namely Huangmaohai Bridge and Gaolan Port Bridge, along with 2 tunnels, 4 interchanges, and 1 service area. Traveling time between Hong Kong and Jiangmen will cut to just 1.5 hours. The Huangmaohai Bridge featured a dual 6-lane design with 5 towers of varying heights, including the main tower shaped like the Canton Tower. The link is also part of a larger network that includes the Huangpu Bridge, Nansha Bridge, and Humen Bridge, marking another significant engineering achievement following the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and the Shenzhen-Zhongshan Link. Beginning in June 2020, the construction of the link incorporated 7 innovative technologies, including the world's longest 3-tower cable-stayed highway design. During the initial period of trial operation, drivers can enjoy free passage. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
The South Korean government is now in complete chaos as a political crisis brought about by President Yoon Suk-yeol's brief declaration of martial law continues to spiral. During the past few hours, police have listed Yoon as the #1 suspect in an insurrection investigation, raiding his offices around noon. Another investigative body, the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, said they would detain or arrest Yoon if conditions are met, as those under insurrection probe can be urgently arrested under the law. Amidst the turmoil, Kim Yong-hyun, the former defense minister and a close confidant of Yoon, attempted suicide using a shirt and underwear at a detention center where he's being held following his arrest on Sunday, according to the Commissioner General of the Korea Correctional Service. He is currently not in life-threatening condition and has been moved to a protective unit, the official added. Kim has resigned and taken full responsibility for the short-lived imposition of martial law. Furthermore, Cho Ji-ho, the Commissioner General of the Korean National Police Agency, and Kim Bong-sik, the head of the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency, were also arrested on insurrection charges. The developments come as the main opposition Democratic Party is preparing to make a second bid to impeach Yoon this Saturday. Their initial attempt failed after all but 3 members of Yoon's People Power Party boycotted the vote at the National Assembly last Saturday. As the party has secured agreement with Yoon to stay out of state affairs and resign in an orderly manner in exchange for not supporting his impeachment, an agreement the opposition has likened to a second coup. Quentin Yang, Cable News.
people in the Syrian capital Damascus continued to celebrate the fall of former President Bashar al-Assad, who fled to Russia after rebel forces opposing his regime united to overthrow his government. Leader of the Syrian opposition, Abu Muhammad al-Julani, who led the revolt against Assad 3 days ago, said the country is moving towards development, reconstruction and stability. Assad and Iran-backed militia group Hezbollah's presence in Syria were the real threat to the people, Julani added. Meanwhile, the United Nations has condemned Israel's military actions after its forces carried out strikes against 320 strategic targets in Syria. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he has no intention of interfering in Syria's internal affairs, but he ordered the bombings to prevent strategic military capabilities from falling into the hands of extremists. Israel has already seized control of a buffer zone in the Golan Heights along its border with Syria, and reports suggest that Israeli troops have advanced to within 25 kilometers of Damascus. Sachin Katwe, Cable News.